Hey guys, welcome back to CodGenix. I am Mubin and today we will be having hands-on implementation and explanation of using Git. In the previous video we have discussed about what is Git and some explanation of its working and its commands and also the installation part. If you missed that video, I have left the link in the description below and on the iCard on the top right corner. Make sure you check that out. And make sure you hit that subscribe button if you are new to my channel for more such amazing and well explained contents. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so that you don't miss any of my videos. And if you have already subscribed or just subscribed now, thank you so much. So shall we start? Let's get rolling. Okay, so before we start, I have two things to show you guys, one of which I'll show now and the next one in the end of the video, which will help you understand Git more efficiently and well, it is a meme. So you can see this image which says in case of fire, Git commit, Git push and then leave the building. This is how much developers depend on Git. There's a lot of memes out there on Reddit, but this is the one that I find it a lot funnier because it has some actual usage. I mean, how can you say something so controversial yet so brave? Okay, so we have wasted a lot of time. Okay, let's get started working. So we open Git bash here. This is the CLI tool that we spoke about in our previous tutorial. Okay, so let me zoom in so that you guys can see it clearly what is going on. So the first command that we will be going to see is the git version command that we used in our installation part. If you are on Linux or Mac, you can follow the same commands in your own terminal instead of git bash. Okay, let me create a project folder and I'll name it my app. So you can name it whatever you want, and let's open our project in a text editor. VS Code is my personal choice, and I'll close the git bash and open it in our project folder. You can work with the one you are comfortable with, Atom, Bracket, Sublime, it's your choice. Okay, so we close rest of the files and the default instructions open and place everything properly so you can see everything. Just a while till I arrange everything. Great. Now let's say our project has two files, index.html and app.js. So let us create them, and I am using the touch command. You can do it within the file explorer or using the code editor. I prefer doing it within the terminal so we have our files. Let us start with our project and write some code in index.html. The code in the file doesn't matter for now. You can write anything. So that now we have a project ready. We will learn a new command. I have explained all the commands before, but now we will be implementing them. So git init, this will initialize our project as a git repository so that we can use git for this project, and a .git folder which will be created inside the project folder. And if you don't see the folder, it's because it's probably hidden. So go in view and check the hidden items checkbox and you will be able to see it. As we have initialized our project, one thing I forgot to inform you is that we have to configure our terminal, and this is to be done only once and not every time. So to configure, we write git config --global user.name, and within double quotes you enter your name. So I'll write my name here and hit enter, and now we have to configure our email. So git config --global user.email, and you enter your email within the double quotes. So this is my email, so I'll enter my email. So we have configured it now, and we have created some part of a project, and we want to create a snapshot of the current scenario. Snapshot is like a checkpoint or a save point we use in game so that if we mess up ahead, we can come back at this point. So to create a snapshot, we have to first add the files in the staging area. So we do that by using git add index.html. This will add index file to our staging area. We run the command git status to check the status of the staging area. You'd find yourself using this command more often. We see that the index.html is tracked and app.js is untracked because we haven't added it to the staging area. We can also remove files from the staging area, and the command to do that is git rm -cached index.html. This will remove the index.html file from the staging area. If we do git status now, we can see that the index file isn't tracked anymore. Now there are various methods of adding files to the staging area, so I'll show some. So you can use git add star.html, and this will add all the files to the staging area with the HTML extension. Git status, you can see that index.html is now added and app.js isn't added because app.js has an extension of JS and index.html has an extension of HTML. Now let's say we have changed a lot of files and we want to add all of them to the staging area. We will use git add full stop. So this will add each and every file that is untracked and modified in our code base, and it will add it to the staging area. So you can see we have both the files in our staging area. Now if we change something in our index.html file, so let me change something. We save our file, and now if we check the status, we can see that index.html file is modified. And now we will use git add space full stop to add all the files in the staging area. Now we can check the status and we find that all the files are tracked now and we have nothing untracked. So now we have to commit or create a snapshot to save our changes so that we can look at it further. So we can use git commit. This command has some flags that we spoke about before, but I'll first show you what happens if we don't use the flags. So this opens a Vim editor. Vim is a normal text editor except it is built to edit files within the terminal. This would be weird for you, but Linux users are kind of familiar with this. We have other ways too, but if you are learning something, you need to know everything about it. So now you can see we cannot type anything. So to type, we have to press I and get into the insert mode and mention what the commit is about. That is, what have we changed, so that if we come back, we know at what point in time which snapshot and what is changed. So we enter our message initial commit, and the hash sign or the pound sign indicates comments. So this will be ignored and not be treated as the commit message. Now we have entered our commit message. Now we want to get back to the terminal CLI. To do that, we press escape plus colon plus W plus Q and then we hit enter. Now we have entered our commit and we want to get back to the terminal CLI. So we have committed successfully. We can check the status now and we have nothing changed. Okay, now let us change something in our app.js file so that we can see we have modified our file. So we write some code in the file. So I write my channel name, and then you can go on the terminal and check the status. So you can write git status and you can see that we have modified the app.js file. So you can see we have it right now, and then if we want to add it, so to the staging area, we will write git add space full stop. So we have added to the staging area. We can check the status now and it is in the staging area and it is termed as modified. Now we have to commit, and this time we will skip the whole Vim and the edit part using some flags we have discussed before in the first episode. If you missed it, link is in description and on the top right eye corner. So we will use git commit -m. This is the flag, and in double quotes we will mention the message that we wrote in the Vim editor before. So this is the message modified app.js, and we'll close the double quotes and we hit enter. So you can see we have committed our changes and skipped the whole editing stage by using the -m flag. We will see one more feature of Git, and it is an important one. It is Git Ignore. This is the file that includes the files and folders that we don't want to keep track of. So we create our Git Ignore file using the touch command. So touch dot git ignore. The file is dot git ignore, and you won't be probably able to create this file in your file manager because it will term it as an empty file name. So you can create it using the touch command in your terminal or using your code editor. So now we have created the file. We have to create a file to be ignored, right? So there are a lot of files that we do not want to make it public. So to ignore that file, we will create a file that is log.txt. Our log file will be log our errors. So we do not want to make this file public for everyone where they can see what errors our system is generating. So we have created the log file. Let's edit something. So we can say log error logs here, and then to ignore this file, we have only to do is go into the Git Ignore File, and we have to mention the name of the file that is to be ignored. So you can go into the Git Ignore File and just enter log.txt, the file name that is to be ignored. We save this file and we can check the status now, and what we see is that we only have modified and created the Git Ignore file, well as there is no track of log.txt file because we have mentioned it in our Git Ignore file. So now, so we add it and we check the status so that we can see that we have our new file git ignore tracked. You can also ignore folders or directories. Let me show you how. Let's create some folders. So I am creating two folders and to demonstrate for the tutorial purpose. So I am creating the folder within the terminal. You can create it from your file manager as well. So I am creating two folders, dir1 and dir2. You can create the folders. Now we add file and also we create files in both of the folders so that we can see that we have completely ignored all the files in a particular directory. So I'll create app1.js in directory 1 and app2.js in directory 2, and we'll write some code in it so that it seems that we are working on a project. Now to ignore the complete folder, we will do is we will add the folder name or directory name with followed by a forward slash. So you can see if I want to ignore directory 2, so I will write dir2 and then a forward slash. So this will ignore the complete directory. So if we save this and we go in our terminal and check the status, we can see that we only have our directory 1 tracked and created, but there is no trace of directory 2. There are various different syntax in which you can ignore the files, but I show you some. So you can see star.txt, this will ignore all the txt files, and there are various other expressions, but we are trying to stick it to the basics. So you can see the status. So we only have our dir1 tracked and we have modified our git ignore, but we do not have any trace of dir2 because it is ignored because we have entered it in our git ignore file. So now let us commit all our changes. Now we will be taking about another important topic, that is branches. Let us assume that you are a pro developer working with a bunch of people and you have been assigned a task of creating a login feature. So you don't want to start making changes and push the repository and change the main code base without completing the feature and with bugs. Obviously you won't. You are a pro guy. You create a branch and call it whatever you want. So we are currently on the master branch. So master is the main code base where we see. So this is the master branch, and you make changes to your branch and commit it on your own branch and it won't change the main code base. So now we want to create a branch, so the command we will use is git branch login. So this will create a branch, just doing that, so it won't change us to the branch. So we can see the status. So we missed the commit our changes, so that we just committed our changes without adding it to our staging area. It doesn't create a snapshot, so let's add them and commit. Okay, so we check the status and we will see that we are still on the main master branch. To change the branch, we use the command git checkout and the name of the branch. So our branch name is login, so we will write git checkout and login. So this will change us to the branch, and if we hit enter, we can see that we are switched to the branch login. So now let's work as a pro developer and create files for the feature. So we create login.html and we write some code. It doesn't matter now because because the purpose is to learn git and not login, and call our code login in index.html. We call our feature in our index.html. Now we save the file, and if we check the status, and we see that dir2 is also been tracked. Oh, I accidentally deleted dir2 from the git ignore, and it is tracked now. So to untrack it, we add it again. So we add it in our git ignore dir2 with a forward slash, and if we check the status now, we only have login.html and created, index.html modified, and git ignore modified. So now we have to push this commit add these changes to our branch and push it. So we will add all our files, so git add full stop, and then we will commit it using -m flag. So we will write added login feature. So now we have committed our changes of the login feature, and the login feature is completed. If we check the status, we can see we are on the login branch and we have nothing to commit. So now keep a close eye on the file explorer, a login file, and on the index.html file while we switch back to our master branch. So while doing so, keep an eye on both this, so login file and the added login form line that we have added. So we check out, so git checkout space master, this will change us to the master branch, and you can see we do not have the login file nor the login code that we have added in our index.html, and this is because we have that particular files in our login branch and not in the master branch. So the working of the branches is like the branches can access all the files on the main code base, but the master branch only shows the code of the main code base and cannot see the files created or modified by the branches. So if you add some code in your particular branch, you cannot see until and unless you merge that particular branch with your master branch. So to merge, we will use a command git merge and the name of the branch that we want to merge. So in our case we have login, so we will use git merge login, and this will merge all the files. So now it will open the editor up, so we have to enter the explanation that what the feature is about. This is how you work in a team with developers. So to add the message, we press I, so go into the insert mode and we add the message. So please enter a commit message to explain why this message is, why this merge is necessary, especially if it merges an updated upstream to the topic branch. So we can get into the insert mode by pressing I, and then you add your particular commit message that you want to say. So I'll write added the login feature, and then we want to escape this vim editor. So to escape, we will use escape plus colon plus w plus q, and we will hit enter. So we escaped the vim editor and we have successfully merged a branch, and you can see we can have access to the login folder, login file, and the code that we added to our branch in the login feature. Advantage of this is that you don't disturb the stable working snapshot and still develop with it and merge when completed. This is a lot more to branches, such as merge conflicts and resolving them, but we are going to keep it simple for beginners. There is a good chance that if you are working on your personal project and you want to track your files, you won't be working with branches, and if you are working with branches, this much knowledge is good enough to get you started with. So we have worked with branches. This is the time now we explore the remote repository. So you go on any of your favorable browser and search for github.com and sign in. If you don't have an account, you should sign up. It's obviously free. So this is a place where all the developers and companies or organizations put their open source code, where other developers can access it and work with it. So this is obviously free. As I have logged in from my account, let me log out so I can show you. Sign in and enter your credentials. So let me enter my credentials. I signed in. So as soon as you sign in, you have to create a new repository for your code to be committed. So you can see a green button which says new besides the repository. So click on that. You have to give a name to your repository. If you can keep you also have to give a description that about what the project is. You can keep it public or private. If you keep it public, everyone can view it. If you keep it private, only you can see the repository. So recently Microsoft bought GitHub, and previously the private repository was a paid feature, but then Microsoft made it free for developers, It was in steps. At start, only 4 members were allowed in a private repository for free, but then Microsoft made it free and unlimited team members, thanks to the Microsoft from the CodGenix community. So we can do is uncheck the initialize this repository with a readme, because we will get into that later. Readme is documentation termed in a technical terms. So you have to put a readme file so that public people can see what the project is all about. It asks us to add a Git Ignore file. We already have done it. There is more to licenses, but we will get into that stuff if we go into the advanced tutorial. If you want me, mention in the comment below, and then we hit enter to create our repository. So we hit create repository. Okay, so you can read this. Let it load. Yeah, so git init, this is the various commands that it shows us to understand, and how to push our code from local repository to the remote repository. So, or you create a new repository on the command line, or push the existing repository from the command line. So it asked us to say git initialize, which we have already done. We have already committed our code. Now we have to do is add this repository, the which we created on our GitHub profile, and as a remote repository to our local repository. So we will go on our terminal and paste this command, and it will add this remote repository as a remote repository. So you can go and enter git remote, and you will see that we have origin as our remote repository. Now to push the code to the remote repository from our local repository, we have to copy this command which says git push -u origin master, and paste it in our terminal and hit enter. So this will do is get the complete code from your local repository, and it will put it onto the remote repository, so it is available online and for everyone to see it. If we refresh our browser, we can see that we have our code up on our remote repository, and you don't have to write this whole command every time you push. So now we successfully pushed our code from local repository to a remote repository. And now you can see on the browser it says help people interested in this repository understand your project using a readme. Readme is a documentation that is used to understand this project. So let's go ahead and create one for our project. Okay, so we go into the terminal and create a file readme.md using the touch command. You can use your file explorer or your code editor if you are not familiar with this command. And then we go in our text editor and give a bit of documentation. So for this purpose I'll just enter a title. This is a markdown file, and there is a various type of syntax to it, but we'll not get into it a lot because we have already wasted a lot of time. So we have to enter. So you can see I just entered a YouTube tutorial which will define that what my repository is and what will work for. So now as it is, we can check the status, and we have our readme.md file created and untracked. So we add our file, and then we commit it and push it to our main remote repository. So we get commit -m, and we'll give the message as added readme, and we'll close our double quotes and we'll hit enter. For this time to push, won't use the complete command, we'll just use git and push, and this will push our code. Let me open the browser, and if we refresh, so you can see that we will have a documentation created below the project folder. So you can see we have YouTube tutorial. So this is the heading format. So there are various ways of styling it. You can see we have 7 comments in our repository that we made while it was local, but we have each and every commit that is on our remote repository. So we have the initial commit here, and the modified app.js, added git ignore, various commits that we did on our folder. So to access the files that we had at that point in time, we can go ahead and click on the triangular brackets. So if we click there, we can see the status of the files in the project at that point in time. So we only had two files, index.html and app.js. So you can see that we had some code in index.html and we didn't have any code in our app.js file. If we go back and we can see in the modified app.js, we created the second commit by entering console.log and the name of our YouTube channel. So you can see that this was our second commit. So you can go ahead and check any of the commit and you will see the snapshot of that particular code at that point in time. Okay, it's time I show you the second thing I spoke to you about. This is the COVID-19 global tracker I developed for my personal project, and it shows the count of the infected and the recovered and deaths of the people globally as well as country wise, and also in form of a chart. I have mentioned the link in the description below. Now to complete this tutorial, let's get to the summary and go through the process once again. So I have completed this project and I have to push it to the remote repository. So I kept it as a summary for the complete tutorial. Let's create a new repository, add some description. I want the repository to be public and no readme file because I have already designed my own readme file for the project. Let me locate my project. I kept it aside because these are precious ones. I open the git bash in my project folder and initialize it as a git repository. If we check the status, we have all the files untracked and I already have my git ignore file ready too. So the node modules are ignored because they are too big and for no reason to push. Any user can run npm install and get all the dependencies back because package.json file keeps a track of them. Let's add all the files, and this time there is a warning for package and public files. It's okay, ignore them and commit the changes. Now we check the status and everything is clean. We add our remote repository and check if it's added, and then we do a git push. Oh, I spelled master wrong. Okay, let me create a log file for git ignore and it will ignore the log file. So if we check the status, we have modified our git ignore, and if we refresh our browser, we have our files there on a remote repository. And you can see I have already created the documentation, that is the readme file. You can see the application is developed in React.js. Let's push the changes to the git ignore. Now the last command you need to know before we wrap up is git pull, and this command helps you to get the changes done in the remote repository to the local repository. I am already up to date. If you are on a team with other developers, so some other developer changes something and they push it to the remote repository, and you are on your local machine with the status that you had before they pushed, so you have to get the changes from that remote repository to your local repository. So what you do is you use the command git pull and it will get all the projects, all the changes onto your local machine. And if you like any project or that is pushed onto the GitHub, you can get the source of the files, obviously if it's public. So to do that, we use the Git Clone. So we go on to the green button and click on the notepad icon. So we go on the terminal and enter the command git clone and paste here and hit enter. So you can see that we have all the files that are available on the remote repository and you can work with them. This is my username for GitHub. You will find all my projects with teams and personal posts here. I'll mention the link in the description below and on the top right corner in the iCard. Amazing, you did it guys. If you have any issue while following the course, let me know in the comments below. Let's fix them. And also, if you are at this point in the video, I hope you like the course. Smash the like button and share it with your friends, so that they get the knowledge too. If you are new, and don't forget to subscribe the channel for more such explanatory courses and tricks, and turn the post notification so that you don't miss any of my videos. If you want me to create any of the course or tutorial, let me know in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. That's it for the Git, and we should wrap it up now. Before you go, stay home, stay safe, have a nice time. Adios.